Hi guys, so the Daily Telegraph, which is of course a Tory backer, published the results of a poll that paints a very bleak picture for the Conservatives at the next general election. The party would face a wipeout if the way people responded to this was the same way as they would vote. A number of big names would lose their seats, including the current Chancellor and Lee Anderson. The poll seems to have been commissioned by Tory donors, which raises some interesting questions. Have a listen.
So we're starting off with a piece in the Telegraph. Now, this is all very interesting about cabinet ministers who are potentially going to lose their seats at the next election, depending on how things play out. So they've got a list here of all the different cabinet ministers, and actually Jeremy Hunt is one of the top ones who is potentially at risk of losing his seat. We already know that lots of different MPs from both sides of the House are standing down at the next election, some maybe because they feel they might lose their seats. But it's fascinating to see it all, especially with the imaging that the Telegraph have got as well.
Okay, so it's all fascinating. So people like Jeremy Hunt could lose his seat, Ian Duncan Smith, Lee Anderson, Grant Shapps. Wonderful. Wonderful news. Well, there's something a little bit sinister about all of this. So I'll leave a link to this in the description of the video to this article from the Cambridge News. And towards the end of the article, they raise a very interesting point. Ironically, the poll, reports the Telegraph, was commissioned by a group of conservative donors called the Conservative Britain Alliance and carried out by YouGov, working with the Conservative peer Lord Frost. Remember him, David Frost. Lord Frost told the paper's polling findings were stunningly awful and the Conservatives facing an extinction event. So why would a bunch of Tory donors spend money on a poll that they know is going to be disastrous for the Conservatives, and it'd be published in a pro-Tory newspaper talking, you can see here, Tories facing 1997 style wipeout? Wouldn't you think the Tories would be trying to boost their image, trying to present themselves as winners here? Well, this is if we look at somebody like Lord Frost, he's somebody who's connected to some very shady groups on Tufton Street. Groups that are against a denial of climate change, who want the government not to spend money on net zero. They want, he supports policies such as punishing the poor even more and issuing more and more tax cuts to the rich. So this is about warning the Conservatives, if you don't move further to the right, you're going to lose. And we've seen it before with Suella Braverman and others who've been saying, look, we need to return to our conservative roots. We're no longer a real conservative party. And what they're talking about, of course, is economics. This is all about economics. This is about removing regulations to allow certain companies to operate in an easier way. This is about reducing the size of government, which of course punishes the poorest in society. This is about cutting taxes for the rich. This is about moving the entire government further and further to the right economically. And of course, they'll use the culture war or whatever to achieve that as well. But this is about sending a message to the Tory hierarchy, to the big wigs within the Conservative Party. You need to move further to the right or you're going to face oblivion. Now, of course, the party will face oblivion because it's not focusing on the real issues. It's not focusing on the cost of living crisis. If it tried to make things better for ordinary people, they could stop some of this rot. But what the far right within the Conservative Party want is the party to move further to the right economically. And this is a shot across the bow here. This is trying to convince the party, look, if you don't change now, you're going to be destroyed. And of course, when the party is destroyed, they will blame Rishi Sunak, they will blame the so-called moderates within the party, the ones who were not true conservatives, who were not interested in tax cuts, who were green when it came to the environment, whatever. These are the people who will be the scapegoat. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.